Cincinnati's back in the orange and black. Cincinnati on the map, baby, tell me where you at. In the jungle, who they bringing it back to the jungle. As a game day, yeah, the jungle's back. Got the natty pack in the orange and black.
Welcome to Week 8 of the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Network, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app where you get to call what you think the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. Check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. As always, I'm your host for the Bengals Weekly Show, Mike Goodpasser. Let me welcome in my co-host, as always, Joe Kelly. How you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm doing great, Mike. Man, this is Steeler Week, baby. So, I'm pumped up. I'll be at the game Sunday, Pittsburgh, with my orange and black and my Who They mode. So it's a big week, man. Big week.
All right, we got a special guest that played on the last team with yourself that went 6-0. We had David Grant, played in the Super Bowl, filled in for Tim Crumbride, played a great game, which a lot of people forget. But how you doing, David?
I'm doing good. All this Bengal talk is bringing back good memories, talking to my friend Joe Kelly, and just remembering that, that year starting off 6-0. I was a rookie, so I thought this was easy. I thought it was going to be like this every year.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Bengals, that was not to be the case.
Well, they're back now, so that's all that matters, right?
Yep, the only thing that matters is now. Can't do anything about the past anyways. So this week we got the Bengals 6-0 traveling to Pittsburgh, who's 4-3. Pittsburgh's won the last three, plus they're 8-4 since 2009. We'll start off with Joe. How significant is this game to the Bengals?
I think it's very significant. The fact that they run 3 in a row, and like you said, the last 12 games they're 8-4, and this is our measuring stick. When we talk about getting to the Super Bowl, winning the division, it's been going through Pittsburgh. The fact that we're 6-0, they're 4-3. If we go in there and then we lay an egg, they'll, most people say, "Hell, okay, same old Bengals. We're not tough enough." So, I think right now, Pittsburgh still feels that they have something over us. That they're more dominant than we are. So I think this is a pillar. It's not the big thing to me is not going 7-0. The big thing is beating Pittsburgh. We're playing well. We have everything going for us. We have the momentum going for us. Everybody's putting us up there, and we're talking playoffs. We're talking Super Bowl. We're talking good memories of the '88 team when Dave and I were teammates, and all that could be negated. This going into Pittsburgh and laying an egg and getting beat bad, that can ruin everything that they have going on in early part of the season. So I think it's big. It's not just the fact that we can go 7-0, but the fact that we're going to go into Pittsburgh. They are second and they're 4-3, but if we lose, rather than having a 4-game lead, it turns into a 2-game lead, and that's huge. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm confident our guys can go in and meet the challenge.
All right, so let's start off. My big concern with this Bengals team is the ability to stop the run. You had Thomas Rawls, who ran all over them in Seattle. They've given up almost 5 yards a carry. David, talk a little bit about the defensive line and what you see from Michael Johnson, Geno Atkins, and those guys, and what you think they can do to support the Pittsburgh Steelers rushing attack.
Well, I think, with Pittsburgh, it starts with, you have to stop Le'Veon Bell. He's one of the best backs in the league. I watch some of his cuts, and it's just, reminds me, it's kind of Barry Sanders-esque, just that he's a little bigger. They just got to, with anything else, you got to make them one-dimensional. You got to stop the run. And, especially with Ben Roethlisberger supposed to be coming back this week. I think that they're kind of Pittsburgh might be rushing him just because, they really don't have a quarterback. And, the Bengals, once you're able to stop the run and, it starts up front with the guys, and then you got to get pressure on Ben. And you know what? I mean, he has his bad knee. You got to hit him. Any quarterback, once they start getting hit, they become a different quarterback. You know, I'm in New Jersey. I'm in Giants country, and they always talk about, you know, when the Giants won their 2 Super Bowls over the Patriots, you know, with Tom Brady. The reason the Giants won was, you know, they New England couldn't run the ball, and they started hitting Tom Brady and made him average. So, you know, any quarterback, you know, once you get to them, you know, they become an average quarterback. So just being able to stop the run, especially at Le'Veon, you know, just, you know, you got to get everybody rally to the ball and just run to the ball. And, you know, just I want to say what Joe said, you know, I think it's a big game for the Bengals, but I think of it as a divisional game. You know, it's Pittsburgh and everything goes through Pittsburgh, but it's still a divisional game, and it's Pittsburgh week. The guys, you know, they can't put too much pressure on themselves. You know, just go in, do what you've been doing, just play ball. You know, what really impressed me, just when they beat Seattle coming from behind, that impressed me. That is a different Bengals team than we're used to seeing, you know, just from an outtake from someone just being, you know, I'm not there, I'm not in the city, just watching it, seeing that, you know, not reading the newspapers and things like that. That what's impressed me.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've played Le'Veon Bell 3 times in his career. They held him to 20 yards one game on 8 carries, 57 on another with 24 carries. The only game he really got him was in that game, the 42-21 loss last year here at the Jungle, where he ran 26 for 185.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
So, Joe, you want to talk a little bit about what the linebackers have to do to help us stopping that run? I know Vinny Ray looks like he's healthy. I think all 53 guys are back today except for Whitworth. But there's no injury there. They just gave him a day off. So you want to talk a little bit about the linebackers?
Yeah, you know what? I was hoping, with being a linebacker, I was hoping that we were going to get Murphy back. But, you know, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So I think a lot of Bengals fans, we were hoping that guy can come in, because once, and if he's able to come back in, that takes the defense to another level. But the fact that he's not, we have to play with the guys that we have. We have to play sound defense. We have to maintain our gaps. We have to maintain our running lanes. And like I said, we looked at some of the issues that we've had this season. The defense has played well in spots. The defensive line has been awesome in spots, but against the run. And our weakness is what Pittsburgh does best. You know, when they run that bend back play and they just allow Le'Veon Bell to sort of read the flow of the defense, and if you get that backside linebacker going over top, going too fast, you get that defensive end, you know, running up the field. You got that line, that defensive line, inverting the line of scrimmage. He cuts back and he's going 50, 60 yards. So I think we've had 2 weeks. We had a bye. I think with the linebackers, I think that backside linebacker has been a huge problem with us against the run. So I'm hoping. You know, we had a bye. We had 2 weeks to prepare for these guys. And like Dave said, you know, don't make the game bigger than it is. It's still only one game. You know, the fact that it is a divisional game. It's Pittsburgh week, but don't make it bigger than it is. It's another game. Let's go in. Just do what we've been doing. Just play how we've been playing. Right. Don't think that you have to go in there and give this superhuman effort in order to beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is beatable. You see what Kansas City did with them without a running back. So you know, we got to go in there and Ray Mataluga, he has to make the proper calls. He has to get the defense, you know, rally. Get them rallying together. And just stick together. Le'Veon Bell is going to have some runs. You know, that's no doubt. He's going to have some runs. So that middle linebacker is making calls. You know, he has to make sure that these guys are staying in the game. We're maintaining our gap control. You know, and if we do that, the biggest thing is he's going to gain some yards. Just don't let him get the 30, 40, 50-yard games. He may have a 8, 9-yard game right there. We can live with that. But it will be a long day, you know, if this guy is ripping off 15, 20, 25-yard runs, because now he's going to get into your psyche, and now everything that they do, you don't think that you're going to be able to stop. So, you know, I think it's going to be huge for our linebackers to play solid against that run.
Yeah, and offensively, what do you think the keys to the game are, David?
Well, just offensively, of course, everything starts with the quarterback, with Andy Dalton. And this year, he's turned things around. He's really put the team on his shoulders and, he's spreading the ball around. And just I love the Cincinnati's running game. Hopefully this week with the bye, Jeremy Hill can get going a little bit. Giovanni Bernard, I love Giovanni Bernard as the backup running back, just being that scat back, doing all these different things. Then, just offensively, you got to keep, Pittsburgh's offense off the field. Like, especially with Ben coming back, that offense is getting the ball to Brown. They're a different team. So just, with the offense, just pounding the ball, and Pittsburgh Steelers defense is not, the Dick LeBeau Pittsburgh Steelers defense that we remember. They're going to give up the yards, and we're going to be able to make some plays against them. And, just have the confidence offensively is like, what, like Joe said, is if Pittsburgh does score, just come right down there and match it, because Cincinnati's the high-power offense now as well, Their D-back can't stop A.J. Green, when he gets going. And just, I think it's also, just to go back with Joe, it's a perfect time for the Bengals coming off a bye week because, you could scout yourself and see some of the things that you need to work on and tweak some things and, shore up some things that weren't going well. But I love Cincinnati's offense, and, I like Andy Dalton. I know some of the fans were against him, but, just, again, from the outside reading, and I read some articles and stuff, but just the way he's playing this year, I love the way he's playing.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken here, I don't think Ben Roethlisberger's won a playoff game in 4 or 5 years either. So,
well, he has this stuff in the bank, though. It's when you have those couple of rings, they let you slide a little bit. Again, I'm Eli Manning. He's getting a pass a little bit, because you got those 2 rings. But same man.
The offensive line is terrible.
Well, they don't want to hear that. You get all the money, everything's on the quarterback. We as, football, people, we know everything starts up front. If you have a good offensive line, a dominating offensive line or a dominating defensive line, you got to win the ball game. But, the average fan, they look at, the quarterback's playing well. Well, he's getting hit in the face, or they don't realize that, It's funny, I coach at a high school, and our quarterback's running for his life, and, the fan, he's terrible. I was like, you would be terrible, too, every time you drop back. You're getting hit. You're not going to see the open guy. So, it's
like the second coming until this year. Yeah, Andrew Luck looked like he was going to be the next, Joe Montana until this year.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. He gets no time to throw the ball. So, and Joe, you want to talk a little bit about what I think is the strength of Pittsburgh's defense, which is their linebackers with Shazier and them?
Yeah, I definitely think that their strength is their linebacking core. Like Dave was talking about, but it's not the same LeBeau defense. They don't have Polamalu in the back. They don't have the experience corners. Their linebackers, that's like linebacker youth. They have them. They leave. They replace them with another guy. And their linebackers, they've been having some really good luck with their draft picks as far as their linebackers concerned. I think their D line is average. I think that we can at least match up with them. I think our offensive line is playing with a lot of confidence, and these guys. But like I said, we always talk about on paper what it looks like. On paper, it looks like our offensive line can match up well against their defensive line. But this is the NFL. We always talk about it, and being a former player on any Sunday, if you take this other guy lightly, you may not even know his name. But you have some guys that come into a game and they take this guy lightly, and they get it handed to them. We played with a guy, Ironhead Hayward, his son's defensive lineman for Pittsburgh, and he was a first round pick. So they have some talent on their defensive line. They're very capable defensive line. So we will still have to maintain our blocks, open up some lanes, and just keep fighting. Their linebackers, I think the linebackers are going to make some plays. They can get after the passer. They're pretty good against the run. But I think we have to utilize our strengths, and our strengths are going to be our offensive line against their defensive line, and our wideouts and our tight ends. I've always said, Mike, that with Eifert playing the way Eifert's playing, our three wide receivers, Sanu, Marvin Jones, AJ, and then you throw Giovanni in the mix with Jeremy. I don't see them being able to match up for 60 minutes. Yeah, they may
I don't
stop
either. I think their offense, they have just as many weapons as we do, but I don't think they have the defensive backs like we do to be able to cover them.
Right. I don't think they have the defense that we do.
No. Right. I mean, like I said, I think defensive line, I think we're superior to them. Defensive backs, I think we're superior to them. I do think their linebacker core is a little bit better. You put perfect back, then I don't think that. But as of right now, I think the linebackers might be a little bit better.
Again, it's hard for your linebackers to make plays when there's a guard in their face as well. And I think with our offensive line, it's better than their defensive line. So again, Joe can attest to this. You can't make plays when you got a 300-pound offensive guard, in your face, a cut blocking you or downfield blocking you. It's hard to make plays.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Just a little bit, Joe. Maybe talk about what Bengals Steeler Week is like for a player.
I think it's something that you grow in, just like when you're in college, you're fresh out of high school, and then you play that rival, and you really don't understand how big it is until that game comes. Growing up, I could tell you the Pittsburgh Steelers defense with Dwight White, Ernie Holmes, Mean Joe Green, L.J. Green,
right.
Jack Lambert, Jack Cam, Dirk Winston, Donnie Hill, those guys. I like Pittsburgh, and then there was something about being drafted by the Bengals, and then once they got drafted by the Bengals, you eventually here it's Steeler Week. You don't really know what's it about, and then you start listening to the veterans at the time, Munoz and Reggie Williams and Eddie Edwards and Ross Browner, Chris Collinsworth, those guys, and then you start realizing that this is a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I tell Big Daddy, we can't go hang out this week, man.
Right.
So it became a big thing. Even now, even being out of the game, as long as I've been out of the game, it's something about when they mention Steelers, it just gets under my skin. I mean, I despise Pittsburgh. I'm not lying. I don't like Pittsburgh. I don't like black and yellow. It gets you back into. It brings back some good memories. And, Dave, you can talk on it because I think we were pretty successful against the Steelers.
Yeah, right.
89 and 90. You won 6 in a row, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, well, like Joe was saying, I went to school at West Virginia, so Pittsburgh, it was always there, and I hated Pitt because it was Pitt, University of Pitt. I hate Pitt, so Pittsburgh Steelers fell right into it. It was no different. But, being there, and then you have Chuck Noll on the other sideline, and it's like, man, it's Chuck Noll, and that's the Steelers. But like Joe was saying, some of the old guys that were still around when I got drafted, they let it be known, like, hey, this was the Steelers that in the 70s they used to wear, that's the Steelers, and so it always became a hated week, the Steelers, and we couldn't wait to just beat them, to go in the Three Rivers and shut their fans up and all the terrible towel and Myron Cope and all that. I hate all that. And, and I just looking at their schedule, and, they got the Steelers this week, and then next week is Browns week. I don't know if it's the same Browns because it's not. Is it still the same Browns because it's not the Brown, but that was the week. That was the week.
I think that rivalry kind of died because the Browns were even more pathetic.
Right, the Browns were racing now. But that was that between Pittsburgh and well, even with the Oilers, too. I mean, everything, the whole division, everybody hated each other, with Sam kicking the field goal, trying to run up the score on Jerry Glanville, but it was always Pittsburgh, it was always just, I think, Joe, you could attest just because of all the success they had, they felt like they was always the bullies, you had to beat, like, the big brother just to prove something, and, like you said, we had great success against them.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, since about 1972, the Bengals' biggest roadblock has always been Pittsburgh. If you look at when they talk about the two teams that went 6-0, you had the 88 and the 75 team. The 75 team was, I think, as talented as the two Super Bowl teams. They start off 6-0. They ended up 11-3, and 2 of the 3 losses were to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, in 75, that was a different Pittsburgh team, though.
I know, but it's still Pittsburgh.
But you know what? That's
Pittsburgh. Like 75, their ass is there. 2005, their ass is there. And now they're there. I mean, it just seems like wherever you turn, you got to beat Pittsburgh.
Well, that 75 Pittsburgh team, that's a different level. That's a different team than the 2005 team.
Yeah,
we're talking about all-time greats. And yeah, you don't want to lose, but I could lose to 10 Hall of Famers and wherever how many times.
It just seems like they're always the problem. But the one thing is this: you were both a part of the biggest ass whooping in that series because they never beat us by 35, but we did beat them in '88. I think it was 42-7.
Yeah. I remember that game.
That 85, right?
Yeah. You go into that game, and like Dave was saying, when you're the little brother, and in this rivalry, we hate to admit it, but when you look at the rivalry, when you look at the success, when you look at the fact that they have 6 rings, you look at the fact, we were there. Both of those Super Bowls, you're talking about each game was seconds away from winning. And I think if we were fortunate in those 2 Super Bowls to win, because it was a toss up, both games the Bengals outplayed 49ers, but it just didn't happen. So we didn't get the Super Bowl ring, and I think because of that, they can always look at us like the little brother, the little sister, in the relationship, because that is a hurdle that they can say no matter how well we can beat them, we can sweep them this year. But the fact is, until this city gets a Super Bowl ring, they're going to always, go back to hey man, we got 6 rings. It doesn't matter, hey, we beat you guys so many times. So this is huge. This is huge. It's huge for the organization. It's huge for the city. It's huge for anybody that's been a part of that rival. Any players, coaches that have been involved in that rivalry. It's a big week.
Right. No, I agree. Everything what Joe said, I agree. Just think about how the Bengals would be viewed differently if we had those 2 Super Bowl rings. The whole conversation would be different. But until you get those rings, you really can't say anything. It's you can have an argument, and all you got to do is point to the ring, and then you got to shut up. You can't say nothing. Conversation over. But I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Dave.
No, I was done.
All right. So, what's your prediction for this week, David?
Oh, I see the Bengals winning at least by a touchdown. Again, it's coming off the bye. Being able to rest any guys that were banged up. This is your whole focus. And then this Pittsburgh's a wounded dog right now, and they're going to be desperate. Their fans are going to be going crazy, and I just think like anything, Pittsburgh, they're down a little bit. They may think that they have confidence, and it's the Steelers, But, you know, they lost a couple of games, you know, with Ben being out, and especially losing to Kansas City. They weren't supposed to lose to Kansas City. So, you know, their psyche's down a little bit. And I think the Bengals, just if they go jump on top of them and really, you know, just march down the field and score and stop them and score again, you know, I think it could be, you know, I don't think it's really going to be close. You know, I'd be shocked if it's close. But, you know, if it's not, you know, a win's a win. And so somehow, some way, they have to win the game, you know. I'm expecting a blowout, but then again, we are talking about professionals, and the Steelers have pride. You know, I don't necessarily have a score, but, you know, I'm rooting for the Bengals. I want them to be 7-0, you know, and going into that, well, they have a Thursday night game the next week against Cleveland, another big game. But, you know, just handle this game and then, you know, worry about the next game.
All right, Joe.
Yeah. I'm looking. It's a divisional game. We're 6-0. They're 4-3. But like we said in the past, Mike, this is the black and blue division. Records are out of the window when you play each other in this division. I still think that this division, within the division, it's huge rivalries all the way around with Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. So I don't think this week will be any different. When they played Baltimore, we were on a roll. But I said in that game we would be facing adversity for the first time, and we did. And we got behind late, but this is a new team, and they battled back. And I see that same thing happening. I'm glad Roethlisberger is playing because I don't want to hear any excuses. You have Roethlisberger back. He's healthy, and you're shooting on all cylinders. But I still like us. I like us, and I like us scoring about at least 4 touchdowns. I see us scoring at 28, but I see Pittsburgh moving the ball on us, and I predict that it's going to be a close game, but I think we can pull it out. I'm looking at probably maybe 28-24. Bengals win it, and we win it late. I think this game is going to go down to the wire. I think both teams are going to battle and play well against each other because we know each other so well. And it's heated. It's heated both ways. It's heated that's the fact that they're 4-3, and we're getting all the attention, and the attention is usually given to Pittsburgh. So I think they're going to be a little jealous. But like Dave said, they're down. They lost to an inferior team last week in Kansas City, and I think they're going to be pressing. And I think we can catch them at the right time and pull out this big win and go into that Thursday night game 7-0.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this. I don't think there's anything 100% sure saying Big Ben's going to play. Because you start to get little things trickling out that, he's limping in practice, stuff like that. But either way, I don't see how he can come in and have the timing after not playing for over a month. I think that's going to be difficult. I think the key is just shutting down Le'Veon Bell. And I think our defensive line is as good as Kansas City's. And Kansas City was in the backfield a lot against them. I think that's going to be the key, as it always is, the offensive line and defensive line of both teams. And I think the Bengals are better on both sides. So I'm going to say Bengals 31-21. And, of course, Joe, we got to be getting out of here in a few minutes because, that San Francisco 49er show with Dexter Carter is going to be coming on.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah, those guys. yeah, those guys.
This is the funny thing. You know what they're talking about tonight while they preview their game? They're bringing in a San Francisco 49er writer to preview the NFL draft for next year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, well, good for them. They deserve it. They deserve it, but, like we were just talking about with the Steelers, we can say all we want. They got to do is point to their rings, and we got to shut up, But
yeah, it doesn't matter. We can still hate them, though.
No, I hate them with a passion. I hate them all. I don't care. I hate them all. I hate their families. I hate all of them.
But, hey, David, it was a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I would love to have you on during the off season and maybe interview you about your career and everything.
Anytime. I really enjoy talking sports and bringing back old memories and talking about the good times. So absolutely, anytime.
Well, we appreciate you being on, Joe. You got any final words?
Yeah, this is Who Day week, man. It's Who Day week, man. It's Steeler week. I'm going to. It'll be actually my first time back in Pittsburgh since we played, and then the rivalries in the '80s. So I'm going to be there front and center, and I'm actually getting some tickets from Ramon Foster, one of the Steelers. So I told him, I'm gonna. It's all right because I'm going to be wearing the Bengal gear, So I'm excited. I'm excited, man, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there, man, front and center, and I expect the boys to, lay down the wood. I expect Gino and that D-line to get after him, and I just love our offense. I want our offense to annihilate them. I would love for us to blow them out, but I don't see that because it is what it is, man. Within this division, they're all going to be. There are no easy victories within this division. So, but I think our guys are looking forward to it. I think the bye helped us, and it helped us to relax, and we had 14 days to get ready for these guys, and I think we're ready, Mike. I think we're ready. I think the league across the league, they're probably still waiting for the Bengals to win that big key game. Even though we beat Seattle, I think a lot of people are looking at this, us getting past the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, Joe, I think if we win 16-0, everybody would still be saying, but you haven't won a playoff game yet.
Right. So we're ready.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So it's not going to matter until we get to the playoffs and win a playoff game, and then everybody will say, but you haven't won a Super Bowl. So we'll just have to do that and do it, and then they'll shut all the hell up. So.
Right.
But you'll still have the Steelers fans running around saying, but we got 6.
That's all right. Don't matter as long as you got to get that first one,
Yes, you do. Because if I remember right, the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise was around for 40 years before they even made it to the playoffs.
Yeah. People forget that the Bengals just came in '68. So there's a lot of teams got a head start on the organization. So I think we're headed in a good direction, a different direction. Other than when Dave and I were playing, I didn't think back then they weren't keeping their guys. They weren't keeping their core guys. They weren't keeping their supporting cast. So and that led up to the 20 years of utility. So now I think things are turning around, and you see, we're keeping our core guys, we're re-signing our core guys, and it's showing. It's showing on the field right now. So it's big. The city is it's a playoff atmosphere around here, and everybody's excited, man. So Sunday is going to be a great day for a Bengal victory.
All right, sounds good. So we're going to go ahead and get off here. Make sure you catch us next week when the Bengals, we play on Thursday night against Cleveland, don't we?
Thursday night, yeah.
Thursday night, Cleveland week.
The
Cleveland week.
Too bad it's not the old Cleveland week. They haven't had a quarterback since the old Cleveland week with Bernie Kosar.
Yeah.
But so make sure you check us out next week for the next Bengals Weekly show. But for David Grant, Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpasser. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.